Hello guys, welcome back to Java session. As of now, we covered what is exception, why exceptions will occur, what are the benefits, and what is the hierarchy of these exceptions. And we also covered this checked exception. So we covered this. As of now, by throwing the by input output exception, we are handled this. Now, sir, I don't want to throw the input output exception. I want to handle by using try and catch. But then here you can see for the same example, what I'm doing, I'm importing the required packages, right? Next, I'm taking the main method. Now I'm creating object to the file input stream because I want to read the data from a particular file, right? So here this is my home directory. From here, I want to read the data from my file, right? Now, whenever you are reading the data from that file, if the file is not available, then there will be a chance of raising the exception. If there is a exception in this particular statement, I don't want to terminate the program abnormally. That's what the statement which is raising the exception, that exceptional statement, I'm placing it in the try block. If there is any exception in the try block, then try block will throw that exception to the catch block. In catch block, you can provide the alternate method, or you can provide the alternate details, or you can display the exceptional details, right? So what type of exception it is occurring? File not found exception. It's a predefined exception. I am creating object to it. So by using that object, you can display the exceptional details by using a method that is print stack trace. By using this method, you can display the exceptional details, or sir, I want to display alternate message to the user, like the file is not available, the file does not exist. That is the reason this exception is occurred, or this particular runtime error, uh, this particular checked exception is occurred. That is, I want to display that. You can display in the catch block. Now, I'm not throwing the exception. Earlier, what we did, we thrown the file not found exception or input output exception by using the throws keyword, right? It's a predefined. That's what I am using throws keyword. If it is a user defined exception, then you need to use the throw keyword. Now, I'm not using the throws keyword and I'm not throwing anything. So now I'm handling by using the try and catch. Let's execute this. Now what it is saying, file does not exist, because whatever the requested file that is not available, that's what it is showing, file does not exist. Let's say I will take the file which is available, right? Now just go backspace, save it and run now. So we are not getting any exception, right? Because the file is available, we are able to read the data. Now you are not displayed, that's what we are not getting output, right? This is the way of handling the exception by using try and catch. In case of checked exceptions, you should handle the exception, either you should throw it by using throws keyword, or you should handle by using try and catch. If you are not handling this checked exception, definitely the compiler won't allow you to move further. It won't generate the class file. This is all about the checked exceptions. Coming to the unchecked exceptions, already I discussed about the unchecked exceptions, but the unchecked exceptions are the exceptions which are not going to be checked by the compiler, right? And this type of exceptions are called as unchecked exceptions. Sir, what are the examples for unchecked exceptions means? Here I shown you. These are all the different examples for the unchecked exceptions, right? Arithmetic exception, class cast exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception, right? Array store exception and illegal thread state exception. These are all the different exceptions which comes under the unchecked exceptions. Sir, can you show an example for unchecked exception? Right here, I'm taking an example for the unchecked exception. Now you can see here what I'm doing. I'm taking a class. My class name is something like AE. Here I'm taking the main method. Now I'm opening the file. I'm finding the number of parameters in this particular main method array, right? So the length of array I'm finding. If the number of parameters are 5, then the length of array is 5. 10, then the length of array is 10. That is a value I'm storing it in n. right? Then I'm displaying the number of arguments. Let's say 5. I will display 5. So a equal to 45 divided by 5. If we have n value, we will divide with n value. So for example, I don't have any n value. I'm not passed anything here, right? While running the code, I'm not passed anything. So then your number of arguments are 0. Something divided by 0, then that comes under the arithmetic exception. This arithmetic exception is a runtime exception. It is a subclass of the runtime exception, right? Now, if there is a runtime exception, this is optional. Whether you want to handle it or not, it is your program. You are not interacting with any external resources. So it is optional. If you want to handle, you can handle it. If you are not going to handle, the program is going to be terminated abnormally and you won't get any output. You'll get the exception, right? So if we are not handling, obviously either data loss or transaction loss is going to be occurred, right? Now, so first we will execute without handling, then we will see how to handle this. Now I'm taking a clear example. So this is the one which I want to run, right? I'm going to compile it and I'm going to run it. It's there in my local directory. Java space. The class name is without handling exception, right? And I'm running it. I'm not handling an exception over there. You can see we are able to execute first statement, open the file, that is fine. Number of arguments are 0. Now you can read here, exception in thread main. What kind of exception? Java.lang. Arithmetic exception. Why it is occurring? Because you are divided by 0, right? In the line number 9. Now, for example, sir, if I pass the values, then there will be no exception. The number of arguments are 4 and the value is 11 and close the file. Sir, if I won't pass the exception, I want to move on, right? So without raising the exception, I want to continue. So for that purpose, you need to use try, catch, and finally. Now I'm talking about try and catch better. So here, the code which is raising the exception, right? Here, this is not at all opening the file, we don't have any exception. Finding the length, we don't have any exception. And I'm displaying the number of arguments. These three statements, they are not raising any exception, right? Coming to the uh, a equal to 45 by n. N is the number of arguments. If your number of arguments are 0, then it is raising the exception, right? This is a statement which is raising the exception. So the statement which may raise the exception, those statements you can place it in the try block, right? If there is no exception in the try block, then the entire try block gets executed, right? If we don't have any exception in the try block, we will skip the catch block. Sir, if we have exception in the try block, then we will go to the catch block. So if there is an exception, what we will do? We will throw that exception to the catch block. In catch block, you can handle that exception. You can provide the alternate code to the exception, right? If you don't have any exception, then you can display the a value. That is I'm doing, right? So if I have an exception, I am throwing to the catch block. In catch block, I am creating object to the exception class. Now here, sir, the exception is arithmetic exception. For example, sir, I don't know what kind of exception it is exactly, right? All exceptions, they fall under the exception category. Exception is the superclass for all exceptions. So you can create object to the exception class and you can handle the exception, right? So I'm created object that is a. You can display the exceptional details by using print stack trace as I told you, and you can also display the alternate message like you cannot divide it by a number by 0 so that the user can understand. Acha, I'm dividing by 0, that's what I'm getting error. So user will avoid this, right? This is how you can handle the runtime exceptions, right? Now I'm running this. You can see here. Now we are able to handle the runtime exceptions. Java space handling exception dot Java. Java space handling exception. Now open the file. Number of arguments are 0, but it's not raising the exception. It's clearly stating that cannot divided a number by zero. Sir, why the exception is occurred? I want to know the reason. This is VR printed. That's what it is printed, right? Java.lang arithmetical exception because we are dividing by zero. Let's say you are commenting this print start trace, then you won't get that. Save it, recompile it, and run it again. Now you can see open the file, number of arguments are zero, cannot divided by number by zero. This is a way of handling the code without raising the exception by using try and catch. Better we have try, catch, finally, and throws that we will discuss in the next video, right?